sex outside of marriage, including gay sex. You've spoken openly on LGBT issues in the past. Will you bring this up?
I think we should be able to discuss about everything, but it's terrible because, in fact, they recommend to people not to get married because you can do what you want when you're not married. It's crazy. I remember that institutions like Kinderkirche Küche were rules in Europe even last century where we supported, but this has changed, and I think we should be able to discuss about everything. We should listen to them why they think this is useful. But in fact, if I would be Indonesian politicians, I would recommend everybody not to get married. And they want to do it for strengthens the family and strengthens the marriage. And in fact, it's fully opposite, because if you still want to have sexual relations, be married. No, don't get married. Or I don't know, but it's not easy. Über was? Ah ja, im Europaparlament. Ich finde es schrecklich. Ich finde es schrecklich einfach, weil das Europaparlament auch ein Tempel der Werte war und wirklich dieses Stempel auch hatten, uns immer daran zu erinnern, was es ist. Und ich glaube, es ist aber nicht gut für ganz Europa. Es ist nicht nur, oder für die Politik insgesamt. Man soll jetzt nicht das Europaparlament-Bashing oder jetzt eine Partei-Bashing machen. Ich glaube, es ist einfach nicht gut und man muss wirklich streng gegen Korruption kämpfen, und ich hoffe, dass, aber wie gesagt, Ihr Kollege hat schon die Frage gestellt, im Moment ist ein juristisches Verfahren da und dann soll man warten, bis die belgische Justiz ihre Arbeit gemacht hat. Aber das Europaparlament und wir haben ja auch als luxemburgische Regierung jetzt vom Greco unsere Zeugnis bekommen und wir haben jetzt sehr zufrieden. Es war nicht super vor ein paar Jahren und ich glaube, dass wir wirklich mehr Transparenz auch brauchen, und ist schon wichtig. Es ist schwer, wenn man den Leuten sagen, man muss alle zusammen solidarisch sein, und dann sieht man, dass verschiedene Leuten sehr, sehr viel Geld einzocken ohne Gegenleistung. Ich habe das jetzt probiert, diplomatisch zu erklären. Tschüss!
Today it's a celebration day, 45 years of a diplomatic relationship with ASEAN. I'm going to sign on behalf of the European Union 2 associations and cooperation partnership agreements with Thailand and Malaysia. So important steps on increasing our cooperation with the ASEAN countries. The importance of ASEAN needs to be enhanced. We are the biggest cooperation partner on development. We are the second investor in the region and the third partner with the region. And this region is a vibrant economy. It will be growing and growing in the next years. Right now, 1/3 of all trade, maritime trade in the world by volume, goes through South China Sea. So for us, it's a aorta vein. So much important that this navigation remains free and secure. We are going to talk about security also. Security has 2 sides, Ukraine in one side and mainly the South China Sea, which means the tensions with China. So it's going to be an important meeting, 45 years of economic diplomatic relations, and an important future in front of us for our cooperation.
How do you want to make sure that the EU is not going to be overtaken in the ASEAN region by other economic actors such as the USA and China?
Engaging more. If you don't want to be override by others, you have to engage more. Invest more, to partner more, to train more, to take very much into consideration their concerns. And these 2 association and cooperation agreements that I am going to sign is a good example of this strong engagement. There is the only way to. There is a battle of offers today in the geopolitical arena. Not only a battle of narrative, but a battle of offers. We have to offer more.
I think we should keep the same relations with Qatar if Qatar tries to drive politicians here.
Well, Qatar is not going to be present today in this meeting.
High Representative, I understand there was supposed to be a part in Taiwan, about Taiwan in this declaration. The EU would have liked that, but it was dropped amid disagreements. Are you disappointed by this?
Well, the declaration is not yet finished. They are still being discussed. On many issues, there is not yet a final agreement. Let's see. Which is the final wording of the declaration?
Representative, the EU will pledge 10 billion euros of finance for projects in Southeast Asia, but that's just 1% of what is needed by 2027 according to the ADB. Is the Global Gateway delivering what it should be?
The Global Gateway is on the way. It's a working process. This Sunday we had the board of the Global Gateway. It is the way of putting together our efforts, member states, financial institutions and European institutions. Yes, there is 10 billion. Certainly is not enough. Much more is needed. But it's important that we show what do we do, presenting a united front. 27 member states plus European institutions plus financial institutions. You know, our investment bank is bigger than the World Bank. And in Europe, we have to put together everything. The foreign policy of the European Union requires one thing: more unity. More unity, and presenting all of us as a unity. We are not a political institution like the US, a political unity like the US, but we can do much more by putting our efforts together. That is what Global Gateway is about.
Mr. Borrell, yesterday, President Metsola said she's afraid there's more to come with the corruption scandal. Are you afraid too that there might come more?
Well, on this issue, there is the judiciary and there is the police. A lot of rumors. But the important thing is not the rumors. The important thing is facts. Let's work the judiciary. We are in a rule of law system. We have an independent judiciary. We have the police working at the service of the investigation. So the best thing we can do is to let the judiciary work. Certainly we condemn corruption everywhere, even at home. But stop widespreading rumors. Let's go to the facts. Let the judiciary and the police work.
Mr. Borrell, Iran government executed people who were demonstrating for freedom. What do you say about that?
What?
Iran. And from execution of people.
Look, we had foreign affairs ministers on Monday, and we approved strong sanctions against Iran by the human rights issue, and in particular for the execution of these two demonstrators. Since Monday, there is nothing new for us. Thank you.
Hello. So first of all, could I say that I'm very pleased that we're here today for the European Union ASEAN Summit, which is very important to Ireland from an economic and trade perspective. If, for example, you look over the last 10 years, trade has more than doubled in the intervening period, and so increased connectivity is important from an Irish perspective. The consolidation of supply chains, because we've seen during COVID and the war in Ukraine how supply chains can be disrupted, and the maritime links that are facilitated by this ASEAN-EU cooperation, I think, is important, because over 90% of Irish trade volume is through shipping. And these are all issues that we have to maintain a focus on in terms of Ireland's economic performance and export in particular. So the trading aspect of this partnership between ASEAN and the European Union is very, very important, and today an important air travel agreement it will be signed, which will improve connectivity on the aviation front, which is also, I think, positive. We will also obviously be discussing wider issues in terms of geopolitical issues, both in the Pacific and, of course, obviously in terms of the war on Ukraine.
Naomi O'Leary, Irish Times. Now, the Qatargate scandal has illustrated the importance of transparency in the European Parliament. There's no suggestion any Irish MEPs are involved in any way, but I'm asking if you, as leader of Fianna Fáil, will commit that all Fianna Fáil MEPs will voluntarily declare meetings with interest groups, which only a few MEPs, Irish MEPs, currently do, and also to supply expense receipts for their general expense allowance, which again, only a few MEPs do that now and not Fianna Fáil MEPs. So can you make that commitment?
Well, first of all, I would say that I think ours do, actually, in respect of meeting interests and so on like that. They are fully transparent in that regard. But I think I wouldn't single out any one political party here. I think the rules have to apply to all members of the European Parliament. And in my view, the whole idea of an overseeing body to ensure compliance and adherence to ethics is required. I think the public will be shocked at revelations that are emerging. Obviously, due process has to take place in respect of those issues, but nonetheless, people must have confidence in our European Union institutions, and particularly the European Union Parliament, because it has increased its powers over the years. It's a very important part of the co-decision process now, and therefore it has to be fully transparent. And I think the most effective way to ensure that is an overarching ethics agency that would have a common framework for all members, irrespective of party or whether they're independents.
But just to press you on that, the current rules, there's only very limited meetings that MEPs do have to declare, yet some MEPs do go further and just declare all meetings, and Fianna Fáil MEPs don't do that, they don't declare all.
Well, I'm reluctant to get into the business of trying to differentiate between one and the other. I think whatever the rules are, people should adhere to the rules, but what's emerging suggests that we need a broader framework to deal with this, and that's the most effective way to deal with it. We know that from our own domestic legislation in respect of the various, both the Lobbying Act we have in Ireland and in respect of the SIPO, and that's been updated and further legislation is coming on that front. So the application of similar frameworks, in my view, particularly to the European Parliament, is something that should be urgently examined now. I think that's the fairer way to do it, rather than trying to put one against the other in terms of informally doing things. There should be a very basic rules-based framework to ensure full transparency.
And just on domestic politics, do you have a reaction to the Green Party objecting to the planning reform? And is there any prospect of an increase in the building of houses next year?
Well, first
His Majesty the Sultan of Brunei Darussalam, His Royal Highness the Prince of Brunei Darussalam.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. What a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
His Excellency, the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia.
What a pleasure to meet you. Very important. Indeed. Welcome.
Prime Minister, I'm very pleased to meet you again. This time in Brussels. 3 times. Exactly.
Thank you very much. See you in a moment.
His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Indonesia.
Good afternoon. Nice to meet you.
It was wonderful. Wonderful.
Welcome to Brussels.
But yes, very good. This morning, last night. Yeah, minus.
His Excellency, the Prime Minister of the Lao People's Democratic Republic.
Good afternoon, welcome. Very good.
Good afternoon again. Nice to meet you again.
His Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Philippines.
Good afternoon, what a pleasure. Good to have you here.
Mr. President, good to see you again. Please.
His Excellency, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Singapore.
Happy to be here. Glad to meet you. Afterwards.
Yeah.
Good afternoon again. Right. Thank you. See you later. See you this afternoon.
His Excellency, the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Thailand. His Excellency, the Prime Minister of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam.
Good afternoon. What a pleasure.
Hello there.
His Excellency, the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Malaysia.
Thank you.
His Excellency, the Secretary General of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations.
invite you to take your seats as the opening ceremony is about to begin.
À la fin de la ligne.
Gentlemen, we invite you to take your seats. Opening ceremony is about to begin. Please take seats. Please take your seats. Thank you. Thank you. Your Majesty, Your Royal Highness, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. It is a pleasure and an honor to welcome you here to Brussels for this commemorative summit. Today we are celebrating 45 years of diplomatic relations between the European Union and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. What a great joy to be gathered. This first ever summit in the heart of Europe between the leaders of the member states marks an important anniversary. In 2020, the EU and the ASEAN elevated their ties to a strategic partnership with a commitment to work jointly on enhancing prosperity, promoting security, strengthening resilience and improving sustainable connectivity. This summit offers a political forum and is of course also a great opportunity to demonstrate and reconfirm this shared commitment. Now, without further ado, I kindly invite you to rise to listen to the anthems. First, we will hear the one of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and immediately after will follow the anthem of the European Union. So please stand up. May I ask you now to welcome the President of the European Council, who will officially open the ceremony, Mr. Charles Michel.
Merci beaucoup. Majesté, Altesse royale, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Excellences, chers amis, c'est pour moi un plaisir très particulier de vous souhaiter une chaleureuse bienvenue à Bruxelles pour ce sommet de l'Union européenne et de l'ASEAN. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to welcome you to the first ever EU-ASEAN Commemorative Summit, and is also the first ever EU-ASEAN Summit here in Brussels, here in the European Council, the home and meeting point for our 27 EU member states. I am very pleased to see so many familiar faces from the recent East Asia Summit in Cambodia. I want to particularly recognize my co-chair, Prime Minister Hun Sen, Chair of ASEAN, and President Marcos as ASEAN Coordinator for relations with the European Union. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to celebrate 45 years as partners and to set our shared priorities for the coming years. This month also marks the 2-year anniversary of ASEAN and the EU becoming strategic partners. And looking back, we have clearly shown that this was the right decision. The EU and ASEAN are the world's two most advanced regional integration organizations. We understand each other very well, we share the same values and the same spirit of cooperation, and we both know the challenges of transforming the vision of a political community anchored in common interests and rules into concrete reality for our citizens. Today's meeting is also an opportunity to bind our regions closer together. And one way to do that is through trade. Trade is a powerful tool for promoting growth and closer ties between our regions. Our trade agreements with Vietnam and Singapore have already boosted our common trade and will continue to help drive our recovery. And we are exploring trade agreements with other countries in your region. We also hope to develop an EU-ASEAN free trade agreement. And another concrete example of our cooperation is our partnership and cooperation agreements with Thailand and Malaysia that we will sign later today. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, our two regions have faced major challenges in recent years. The COVID pandemic has hit our societies and economies hard and caused enormous suffering. But this pandemic has also brought out the best in humanity. We were able to develop and produce vaccines in record time. And the EU, together with our EU member states, we have mobilized over 800 million euros to support ASEAN and its member states to fight the pandemic. And through COVAX, we provided more than 3 billion euros to help secure almost 2 billion doses of vaccines for low and lower middle-income countries in the ASEAN region included. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, we are living through turbulent geopolitical times. Climate change, COVID-19, conflicts and security challenges. And on top of this, Russia's war against Ukraine and its consequences for the world, the energy crisis and the food security crisis. The European Union has stood by the people of Ukraine since day one, because this war blatantly violates the United Nations Charter. The attempt to change internationally recognized borders by force is not acceptable, and we stand for the values and principles enshrined in the United Nations Charter. These are not just words, these are the compass for all countries who believe in peace and the respect for human rights and for fundamental freedoms, and that includes respect for the territorial integrity of sovereign nations. Dear friends, the EU and ASEAN, we have so much in common, and that's why we are pleased to work together to deepen our cooperation. And we can do this in 5 key areas. First, to achieve greater prosperity. By working more closely together through multilateralism, we can build a more peaceful, fair and prosperous world. It is in both our shared interest. Second, we can work more closely together to protect our planet. This is a global existential challenge that needs everyone on board, and we owe it to the future of our children. Third, the digital transition is a challenge for all our societies, and we can work together to develop peaceful, secure, open and inclusive digital economies. The fourth area where we can deepen our cooperation is on infrastructure and connectivity, by strengthening our links in the fields of science, technology and innovation, including initiatives that bring our students and young people closer together. And finally, we can deepen our cooperation in security and defense across many areas, like transnational crime, maritime security, women in conflict, and peacekeeping operations. In particular, we can work together to improve cybersecurity and fight cybercrime. I strongly believe we can deepen our relationship in all these fields for the benefit of our people. And this deeper cooperation goes hand in hand with the EU strategy for greater cooperation with the Indo-Pacific region. We want to contribute to the region's stability, security, prosperity, and sustainable development. Thank you for being here. You can count on the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Charles Michel. Cambodia, ladies and gentlemen, currently chairs the ASEAN and actually just hosted in November the ASEAN summit in Phnom Penh. As they will soon hand over their presidency to the next chair, Indonesia, this summit is an opportunity to hear their reflections and their experiences. Please welcome His Excellency Prime Minister of Cambodia, Mr. Hun Sen. Please join me at this lectern.
Adam Charles Michel ប្រធានក្រុមប្រឹក្សាអឺរ៉ុបលោកទាវអ៊ូស៊ូឡា Wonder Leyen ប្រធានគណៈកម្មការអឺរ៉ុប Adam Peter Fella នាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីនៃសាធារណរដ្ឋឆែកនិងជាប្រធានក្រុមប្រឹក្សាអឺរ៉ុបព្រះចៅស៊ុលតង់អាយដាមលោកទាវថ្នាក់ដឹកនាំសហភាពអឺរ៉ុបនិងអាស៊ានក្នុងនាមជាប្រធានអាស៊ានឆ្នាំ2022និងជាសហប្រធាននៃកិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលរំលឹកខួបអនុស្សាវរីយ៍អាស៊ានសហភាពអឺរ៉ុបខ្ញុំអនុញ្ញាតឲ្យខ្ញុំចាប់ផ្ដើមដោយការថ្លែងអំណរគុណជូនចំពោះថ្នាក់ដឹកនាំនៃសហភាពអឺរ៉ុបសម្រាប់ការព្រួយបារម្ភរៀបចំកិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលរំលឹកខួបអនុស្សាវរីយ៍ជាប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រនេះក៏ដូចជាសម្រាប់បដិសណ្ឋារកិច្ចដ៏កក់ក្ដៅដល់យើងខ្ញុំទាំងអស់គ្នាជាការពិតកិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលរំលឹកខួបអនុស្សាវរីយ៍នេះគឺជាបង្គោលចរដ៏ធំមួយនៃទំនាក់ទំនងដ៏យូរអង្វែងជាង4ទសវត្សរ៍កន្លះមកនេះរបស់យើងតាមទម្លាប់កិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលរំលឹកខួបអនុស្សាវរីយ៍នេះគឺជាឱកាសពិសេសសម្រាប់ការពិនិត្យមើលស៊ីជម្រៅទៅលើកិច្ចសហប្រតិបត្តិការនាពេលកន្លងមកក៏ដូចជាការផ្លាស់ប្ដូរនៅទស្សនវិស័យនិងស្មារតីដើម្បីតម្រង់ទិសទៅអនាគតសម្រាប់ទំនាក់ទំនងរបស់យើងដោយដែលយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាដឹងស្រាប់ហើយថាការវិវត្តយ៉ាងរហ័សនៃនិមិត្តនកម្មតំបន់និងសកលរួមទាំងបញ្ហាប្រឈមបែបប្រពៃណីនិងមិនមែនប្រពៃណីផ្សេងទៀតសុទ្ធតែជាចំណុចសំខាន់សម្រាប់ការពិចារណានៅក្នុងរបៀបវរៈនៃកិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលរបស់យើងនាថ្ងៃនេះព្រះចៅស៊ុលតង់ឯកឧត្តមលោកជំទាវអស់លោកស្រីស្មារតីមនសិការនិងបំណងប្រាថ្នារួមចំពោះសន្តិភាពនិងវិបុលភាពនៅក្នុងតំបន់ទាំងពីររបស់យើងបាននាំមកនូវការបង្កើតនៅភាពជាដៃគូយុទ្ធសាស្ត្រប្រកបដោយភាពជោគជ័យជាមួយនឹងផែនការសកម្មភាពឆ្នាំ2023-2027ដែលមានភាពច្បាស់លាស់និងក្របដណ្ដប់យ៉ាងទូលំទូលាយទៅលើផ្នែកជាច្រើននៃកិច្ចសហប្រតិបត្តិការក្រោមសសរស្តម្ភទាំង3របស់អាស៊ានជាមួយគ្នានេះខ្ញុំសូមកត់សម្គាល់នៅវឌ្ឍនភាពដ៏ល្អប្រសើរនៃការអនុវត្តផែនការសកម្មភាព2018-2022ប្រកបណាស់កិច្ចប្រជុំកំពូលរំលឹកខួបអនុស្សាវរីយ៍នៅពេលនេះត្រូវបានរៀបចំឡើងក្នុងពេលដែលពហុភាគីនិយមបាននឹងកំពុងរងទទួលនៅសម្ពាធយ៉ាងធ្ងន់ធ្ងរអ្វីដែលគួរឲ្យព្រួយបារម្ភជាងនេះទៅទៀតនោះគឺសន្តិភាពសកលក៏បាននឹងកំពុងទទួលរងនៅការគំរាមកំហែងដោយសកម្មភាពរបស់រដ្ឋមួយចំនួនដែលបំពានដោយបើកចំហលើច្បាប់បទកថានិងគោលការណ៍អន្តរជាតិដែលត្រូវបានទទួលស្គាល់ជាសកលសម្រាប់ដំណើរឆ្ពោះទៅមុខខ្ញុំជឿជាក់ថាអាស៊ាននិងសហភាពអឺរ៉ុបត្រូវតែធ្វើការជាមួយគ្នាយ៉ាងល្អិតស្អិតរមួតដើម្បីធានាសណ្ដាប់ធ្នាប់អន្តរជាតិដែលផ្អែកលើច្បាប់ប្រកបដោយបរិយាបន្នភាពបើកចំហតម្លាភាពនិងការផ្ដល់ផលប្រយោជន៍ដល់គ្នាទៅវិញទៅមកក្នុងនាមជាប្លុកតំបន់2ដែលផ្អែកលើច្បាប់ នឹងមានការទទួលខុសត្រូវអាស៊ាននិងសហភាពអឺរ៉ុបត្រូវប្រឹងប្រែងឲ្យអស់លទ្ធភាពដើម្បីការពារលើកកម្ពស់ធម្មនុញ្ញអង្គការសហប្រជាជាតិនិងច្បាប់បទកថានិងគោលការណ៍ដែលត្រូវបានទទួលស្គាល់ជាសកលដែលជាមូលដ្ឋានគ្រឹះសម្រាប់ការកសាងសន្តិភាពនិងស្ថិរភាពនិងការធ្វើឲ្យប្រសើរឡើងនូវគុណភាពជីវិតនិងជីវភាពរស់នៅរបស់ប្រជាជនក្នុងតំបន់របស់យើងក៏ដូចជាពិភពលោកជាមួយនឹងការកត់សម្គាល់ផ្ទាល់ខ្លួននិងបទពិសោធន៍នៃករណីចំនួនដែលបានអូសបន្លាយនៅមកជាសោកនាដកម្មនៅកម្ពុជាខ្ញុំជឿជាក់ថាយើងអាចសម្រេចបាននូវសន្តិភាពតាមរយៈការយើងមិនអាចសម្រេចខ្ញុំមិនដែលជឿថាយើងអាចសម្រេចបាននូវសន្តិភាពតាមរយៈការធ្វើសង្គ្រាមឬការគំរាមបង្កសង្គ្រាមនោះឡើយក្នុងន័យនេះខ្ញុំសង្ឃឹមយ៉ាងស្មោះថាយើងគួរតែកំណត់ការដោះស្រាយជម្លោះដោយសន្តិវិធីតាមរយៈការសន្ទនានិងការពិគ្រោះយោបល់ជាវិធីសាស្ត្ររួមរបស់យើងព្រះចៅសូលតានឯកឧត្តមលោកជំទាវអស់លោកលោកស្រីខ្ញុំមានទំនុកចិត្តថាកិច្ចពិភាក្សានៅថ្ងៃនេះនឹងអនុញ្ញាតឲ្យយើងធ្វើការផ្លាស់ប្ដូរនៅស្មារតីរួមរបស់យើងឲ្យទៅជាចក្ខុវិស័យប្រកបដោយភាពជាក់ស្ដែងនិយមដែលនឹងផ្ដល់អត្ថប្រយោជន៍ដល់តំបន់របស់យើងនិងពិភពលោកទាំងមូលសម្រាប់រយៈពេលជាច្រើនទសវត្សរ៍ទៅមុខខ្ញុំទន្ទឹងរង់ចាំការពិភាក្សាដោយត្រង់ទៅត្រង់មកបើកចំហនិងស្ថាបនាសូមអរគុណចំពោះការយកចិត្តទុកដាក់
Thank you, Mr. Hun Sen. Now, after these opening words, I would like to ask your attention for the President of the European Commission. She will share her thoughts and experiences on the strategic partnership of the EU and the ASEAN based on the shared values and principles of both organizations. Her Excellency, Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen, who I will also ask to join at this lectern. Your Majesty, Royal Highness, fellow leaders, let me add my warm welcome to Brussels after such a long trip. One thing is for sure, there might be many, many miles that divide us, but there are much more values that unite us. For 45 years now, indeed, ties between the European Union and ASEAN have grown stronger and stronger. And today our strategic partnership is more relevant than ever. Because if we literally stand at the opposite sides of the world, our destinies are linked more than ever before. We have seen it with the pandemic. We see it in the connections of our value chains. We see it with climate change and with geopolitics. Russia's war against Ukraine has sent shockwaves through the world. Not only is it an attack against the rules-based order, which protects every country's right at all corners of the world, Russia's war of aggression has also destabilized the global economy and made global commodity prices soar. I know that ASEAN has just signed with Ukraine the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation, and this speaks louder than a million words. Fellow leaders, both the European Union and ASEAN have multilateralism in our DNA. We have strong economic ties. We have a similar outlook on the Indo-Pacific. And this summit gives the opportunity to discuss how we can join forces even more to achieve our shared goals. And I see three key areas where we can do more. The first is on energy and climate. Russia has unleashed a global energy crisis which comes on top of the ongoing climate crisis. The answer to both crises is the same. We must support each other to speed up our transition away from fossil fuels and towards renewable energy. Renewable energy is not only good for the climate, but it is also homegrown. It gives us independence and security of supply. At G20 in Bali, we signed a just energy transition partnership with Indonesia. And together with partners, we have just concluded a similar partnership with Vietnam. I know that Prime Minister Hun Sen has called for an ASEAN Green Deal. So let us discuss how the European Green Deal and the ASEAN Green Deal can reinforce each other. My second point, we should also reinforce our economic ties and trade. We are each other's third largest trading partner, but it accounts only for 5% of our trade. So there's so much of untapped potential. And the lesson of the pandemic should be that we should all diversify our partnerships. And we all know that today, trade agreements are much more than tariffs and quotas. They are vehicles of cooperation to jointly address the twin green and digital transitions. They are also about digital trade, about clean technologies, about resilient supply chains. I very much welcome that our trade ministers focus on that now. Our trade agreements with Singapore and Vietnam are already delivering on the ground.